cane.
Oh, we said it together.
Yes.
So good at this.
Well, I think it's because you're a little more humble. I'm a little more narcissistic. So we're rubbing off on each other.
Right. Ever since Greece, that's actually been what happened. What happened over there? When did I lose my narcissism?
You didn't lose your narcissism. You danced it out, probably.
I'm still tired. Yo, so
she's not still tired. I'm Jade.
Oh, I'm Alona, and I remembered to introduce myself. Well, you remembered to introduce us. Whatever. Moving on. We have important stuff to do today.
Oh my word. Okay, so anyway. So in Greece, yeah, it was fun, but you guys can check that out on Just Right in Life. The episode should be up soon.
It'll be episode 6.
Okay, so anyway, we are the ladies, some of the ladies of the And I Thought ladies, and we are 2 of the 12 wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, just
I love those
everything.
adjectives. Ladies.
Have a glass of wine with ladies.
She said a glass of wine. Ain't nobody drinking no wine over here. But anyway, books.
No, also the authors of the And I Thought series. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up is easy. And I thought I could juggle it all. And I thought I did my journey alone. And I thought I had it all figured out. Episode 1. Holly season. Hey, you guys in Hollywood. Winona needs more fame. I don't know why, but she needs it.
I do. This face needs to be
all of this is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and AndWeThought.com. Guys, if you go to AndWeThought.com, take a moment to go down to the bottom of the ladies page, check out the charities that we proudly support. And if it's before the deadline, vote for Marilyn Hawes, Enough Abuse UK.
Yes, please, please, please do. Because she really needs this win. She needs some funding. I was good today. Do I get to talk about my favorite thing?
No. Because we have a relationship roundtable. We have 4 other ladies.
No, I'm talking about my favorite thing. Anyway, you guys, Channel 18, Just Right in Life.
I just said Just Right in Life.
And you can see it on Amazon.com. There you go. What? I'm done.
I said it in the beginning.
3 seconds.
I said it in the beginning.
Let's introduce people.
Wonderful guest. Let's see. Let's start with Valerie. Can you please introduce yourself?
So, hi. Are you introducing me, or do you want me to introduce?
No, you introduce yourself. You know we don't.
Oh, great.
Here.
Hi, everyone. So it's so wonderful to meet you. And I'm Valerie Greene. I am a relationship coach in New York City. And I work with both men, women, and couples. And with single and married people. So with married people, I help them to really stop fighting and fall in love again by connecting emotionally and not just problem solving or communication skills. And with single people, I really help them to find the love of their life by going deeper, not just looking at what's on the surface, but really connecting to their needs and desires and values and life purpose, and helping them to get out of their own way and clear away past patterns and find love within themselves, and then really experience the love of their life. So I'm happy to be here to have a great discussion.
Awesome. I'm going to say I love.
Okay, I'm John Hope. I write mainly for young adult and middle grade fiction, and I have a whole slew of short stories or for general adult. And I'm born and raised in Florida.
Okay, and John, you have been married for a while, right?
Yeah, this October will be 17 years.
Woo! So amazing.
That's a long time, bro. That's
Dude,
a long time.
I did 6, and I was like, that was jail time.
Well, no one cares about your life right now.
Anyway,
I love you.
Love your course, by the way.
Yes. Kim?
Yes. Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I'm Kim Donato. I live here on Long Island. I am not a relationship expert, but I have been dating for about 30 years, with 30 years under my belt of dating experience. I did write the comical book, Shoes Are Like Men. It's been a lot of fun. Whoops. I lost you there. Sorry about that. I'm also evidently very clumsy. I'm a hockey instructor by trade, and the book is all mainly about, someone that has no experience whatsoever writing, wrote a funny book about men and dating, and it was my experiences, and it's a good, positive, fun book.
Mad props, John. Richard?
Hi, everybody. You may remember me. I am Rich Keller. I am the owner of Wooden Pants Media, the bridge to your creative soul, podcaster, author, and now digital nomad. My books ranged from science fiction to humor to spiritual to nonfiction.
And Richard is also a recent divorcee-ish.
I am, after 18 years of marriage, I am no longer married.
And he's awesome. And Susan, saving the best for last.
Hey, hi, I'm Susanna Mathews, known as the Date Maven. I work with growth-minded singles of all ages across North America. And last time I was on your show, we were talking about my book, Revising Mrs. Robinson. So I'm really happy to be back speaking with you again.
I love her book. I especially love the cover. I mean, I read the book, but I love the cover too. Such a beautiful.
Did that guy just say digital nomad?
No.
Yes.
I'm gonna start like a techno punk band with that name, if you don't mind. Fucking what? Digital nomad? Wow.
Ooh, I forgot.
Hey.
Oh, my bad.
I forgot to say that. I was like, yo, Robert
I don't
should said no cursing. Okay, go. I'm sorry.
You need to prep that for me, all right? I'm on the job site. There's a lot of flying around. Robert Martin, bartender, car painter, former literature guy, but just one of those weird, smart working men you find floating around every now and again.
And you've
9
been
years
married for
9 years.
9 years.
Wow, you
I apologize
Thank
for
you
looking
so much.
so sweaty and disgusting, but
what? You look fabulous.
I'm on a-
What Robert is forgetting to say, he's also a co-host on our television show. Not co-host, co-star on our television show occasionally.
Occasionally.
Tender. All right, you guys, we have a beautiful cover. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming. And Jade, I'm gonna offer you the opportunity to say the first question. No,
I'm gonna let the narcissist have it.
Oh, awesome. I know you guys have had some experience dating or being out there in the dating world, or helping others. So through what you're watching and seeing, what do you think has changed in the 21st century compared to like all the other decades?
Oh, that's
we can say a
you
lot.
want to go first, ladies?
Right. Who should jump in there?
Whoever wants to.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I was watching a movie last night that was set in the late 1980s, and the soundtrack and the old computers and kind of all the clothes, everything was taking me back. Thinking as I was walking down memory lane, how very different dating and relationships were done, several decades ago. And I think the most obvious difference is the technology and the opportunity to connect digitally, both through online platforms and through dating apps. And there's just a whole lot more information to handle nowadays, isn't there?
Yes.
Definitely. And not just more information, but what I find when I coach singles is that because you can connect with someone instantly online, people fall into the trap a lot of connecting online way more than is healthy before they meet in person. And so, with the texting and, with the chatting back and forth, they think they know this person. And so then when they meet the first time, they have all these kind of assumptions and this fantasy built up in their head that you didn't used to get when you just used to answer a personal ad, back 20 years ago, and you have to call them on the phone first.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we know, 90% of communication or so is done through body language and tone of voice. So when you're just communicating over text, you really can't tell that much about this other person, and you think you know them. So, I mean, that's, I think, a big pitfall that singles fall into nowadays.
Different because marriage and relationships are so based on religious kind of constructs, at least since like that Enlightenment-y time, that in the last 20 years with religion kind of slowly and surely becoming less and less mainstream, I guess, and more people just kind of being agnostic or atheist, relationships are always going to change, and sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. Structure traditional quote unquote structure can be important for raising a family, house, and all that stuff, but just pure person to person relation, kind of breaking down some of those weird old patriarchal religious kind of foundations is important for kind of having a full and meaningful life, I think, in this day and age.
Mr. Keller, as our recent divorcee, do you find that different for relationships in the 21st century if you think about getting back out there?
I don't think it's a religion thing. I think it's just the way we think as a society. In the 20th century, there was a lot of codependence between one spouse and the other, normally the female to the male. And as the equality has increased between male and female, there is now a sense of codependence going away and changing in the form of interdependence, which is a stronger relationship in the end. Interdependence is two fully formed individuals, but you work with each other in both relationships with yourself and with your children, if you have any, in order to form a stronger bond. It's a lot better than codependence, which is what causes a lot of divorces and a lot of failed relationships, because codependence is the neediness and the getting into your head and feeling that you're not worthy enough and doing everything that you can to feel worthy. And when you're not, you feel you're not worthy enough, then you get angry and decide to be not a nice person.
Okay. Can I say something about that real quick? Oh no, let me first of all, let me get Kim's thoughts. Narcissism takes over.
My thoughts is, obviously dating has changed over the years. I mean, from when I started dating when I was younger, you know, you also metamorphose when you date. You know, you're not the same person either. Think about what you're like when you date. I mean, I'm trying to think of it. I mean, yes, there's internet dating, there's a whole, you know, different cyber world. But, you know, think about what you're dating when you were 20, and now think about when you're dating when you're 40. You know, dating before I had a child, now I date differently than I have a child. So that's another way of looking at dating. Of course, dating changed. But as much as things changed, things still stay the same. You know, you got to maintain your, you know, men are men, women are women. And the general rules, always the general basic rules. You know, just be a lady, and, you know, if you want that kind of, it depends on what kind of relationship you want. But, you know, as I said, you know, you're everybody, we all evolve. I mean, I'm sure the ladies and all of you guys are in the room saying the same thing. The way you dated back 20 years ago is not the same way you're dating now. Your life has changed. Your wants are changed. Your needs have changed.
John, you have been sitting over there quiet, and I hate to see your bored face, so.
Okay, so I'll just jump right in. So to answer the question, absolutely, just because the environment's different. I know both Richard and Robert have touched upon that. However, I mean, I totally believe that people really haven't changed immensely. I mean, we're still people. Now, even like 1,000 years ago. And the actual relationship between one person and another is still just as difficult as it's ever been. It's just the environment's a lot different. So there are a lot of you know, allowances to what Richard was saying about how an individual can survive on his or her own, probably better now than ever have. And so that kind of allows for breakups to happen, you know, because you know you can survive. However, the actual relationships are just as difficult. I mean, even though you know there are a lot more divorces now. You know, 100, 200 years ago, there would probably be a lot more divorces if that independence was allowable. And but yeah, I mean, I think relationships are still difficult, you know.
I'm gonna and in a society that has instant gratification,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that's taken a huge toll on like relationships, getting to know each other, waiting sometimes?
Yeah, but it also, absolutely, but it also, you know, it's also, you know, sometimes it makes us not feel good about ourselves too, because you need that instant gratification all the time. And that's not healthy either. So, you know, you got to find out what works for you. Everything doesn't work for one person. You know, internet dating may work for some people and it may not work for others. It just depends on who the person is.
Definitely. And I think because we have so much more freedom nowadays, you know, it's not necessarily assumed that when people are meeting that they're looking to get married or that they're looking for a committed relationship. And, you know, you really have to be very clear about what you want when you go out and meet someone, because there's everything and every possibility out there. And on the one hand, that feels really liberating, because if you have a lifestyle or a desire or a preference that's not quote unquote normal, I think this is the first time in human history that it's like, everything's okay, you know, in the mainstream. But you really can't make any assumptions about what the other person is looking for. And you have to be very clear up front about what you're looking for, and know how to say what you're looking for in a way that doesn't sound like you're interrogating the other person, that's fun and playful and light. So it is an art, I think.
Yeah, and related to your question of instant gratification, there's also this concept of the gamification of dating. And so many dating apps are kind of built with game theory in mind. And the idea is to reward users for frequency of activity with coins or roses or popularity and status or more visibility on the platform. And so it's really creating kind of a game mindset or game playing approach to dating, which, you know, that's a little bit of a tricky terrain there. Is that really the road we want to go down? That I'm on this app not only to maybe chat with other singles, but because it's a little bit of an ego boost because I earned 50 coins today, or I got 10 roses today, or whatever.
Exactly. So are you saying that you feel that they're kind of nurturing as something to take it not so serious, the whole relationship thing?
Well, I think that people who develop apps are running a business. And of course, it's in their best interest to get as many users as highly engaged as possible. And to facilitate that engagement, there are lots of gimmicky, gamey aspects to these apps. And so I would just caution people to be aware of that. Sometimes it's easy to get into getting hooked on the reward of using the app and forgetting what's your purpose in being there. Am I really trying to meet someone? Or is it just kind of like I'm standing in line, I'm killing time, and oh look, I got 20 more coins and I feel super popular today.
Jade, I feel like I'm just hugging every question. I know you're happily married, so relationship in you is like, whatever.
It's not like whatever. I am good. Come on now. I'm not that person.
But all right. So I don't know. I was thinking, you guys, when I was asked this question, and I was like, everyone here is married or divorced, which is great because, you know, it like gives a insight into what actually makes a relationship work, or, you know, what made it work until it didn't. But you guys don't have to answer this question. Just thought. Your children will have to be in this 21st century dating world. How do you feel about that?
What advice would you give them?
What advice would you give them? Yeah.
Well, I have 4 daughters out of 5 children. So they're just, you know, until they're 30, I'm locking them in their room.
Good idea. I go with that one.
It's like a relationship, it's a challenge. And when you're divorced, it's best to be on the same plane as your spouse is. You can't tell your children one thing and then your spouse tell them another. You need to have that united front. The advice I would give to them is to be independent, to not get too much into their head, which is such a tough thing to do, because that is going to lead down a bad path. To simplify it, you have to be happy with yourself in order to be happy in a relationship. And if you are not happy with yourself, and then someone comes along and says, you're beautiful, I'll take you away from this all, that is just going to be a problem down the line. You have to have that independence. You have to have that security inside you in order to have that stable relationship down the line.
Either of you want to answer this? Because you don't have to. We can just move on to the next question.
I think it's a good question, and I don't really worry too much about my kids entering the relationship world or the dating world. They're young now, but when they get older, I assume you mean because it's easier for like hookups, and online stuff can be creepy and kind of odd, and maybe you're kind of oversaturated in how to get into a relationship, but you don't have any tools how to have a good one in this day and age. But I mean, I teach my kids to basically that they're flawed but beautiful at the same time, and they don't need anyone to tell them that. They're going to know it inherently. And just by watching the way I act, with my wife and with them, I'm flawed too. And so if they can see the love through all the flaws, that's going to help them with people when they're growing up, because they're not going to think someone is more than they are, or someone can do something for them that they can't do for themselves. They're going to recognize flawed people that they need to show love to, and then can get love shown to them, but it's not the definition of their life, And, I don't think it's that scary. I mean, obviously safety has always been a problem, but outside of that, as long as especially my boy, if I train him to be a decent human being and raise him to be polite and proper, he'll be fine. My girls, same thing. I have 4 sisters too, so I know I've seen relationships, with women I'm very close to and in love with, in my family. So I know what kind of scumbags there are. But if you're strong enough and understand yourself enough, none of that can hurt you, and it won't cause you to be bitter. Because if they grow up and are bitter because of relationships, that's terrible, because then they're harder to be around. You know what I mean? I'm harder to be around because they're bitter, and then I'm sad and all that stuff. So relationships are always going to be troubling and tempestuous. What's the word? Hard.
I don't know. You're one with literature.
I know.
Yeah.
Graded, obviously. I'm not worried about it. It's all good.
To feed off of that, if I can, your children are going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and they have to realize, I made a mistake, I screwed up, I need to work, I apologize, own it, and then move on to the next thing. That's all they can do in those types of situations. We wish our children were perfect. My children are, I love them. They are certainly not perfect, but I'm hoping down the end that even though they'll make mistakes, they'll have that sense of understanding, comprehension that they made the wrong turn at some point.
Yeah, but you have to also be fully aware that they have to make those mistakes on their own to learn.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you for one quick section. Second. John, did you have anything to say? Because you're just sitting over there so quietly, I feel bad. And then you guys can go back to that.
No, it's okay. Let Robert speak his mind, and then I'll throw him.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Mr. Martin. Continue.
Well, basically, it's not like when I was growing up, I got like all this like wicked awesome from my dad, from my mom about how to be in a relationship, how to have a girlfriend, and I got married young, how to have a wife when 23, stuff like that. I had to learn kind of on my own. That was what my parents wanted me to do, because those lessons you learn when nobody's kind of you telling, actually, don't do that. Maybe you should do this. You learn those deeper. They go a lot farther down. And so those mistakes you make that you learn from become such a bigger part of you than if you just had someone being like, maybe don't do that. And you're like, okay. And then you just don't do it. So I kind of want my kids to have a similar growth pattern. Obviously, I'm there for them all the time, but I don't want to be a parent that is totally giving them a trajectory of how they're supposed to go, because that's just diminishing a lot of lessons they're going to learn on their own.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for that. I just recognize we went in the complete parenting option way.
I know. I was like, but
I
But
was like,
John, if you have a thought.
yes.
But John, though, if you have a thought.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention throughout the dialogue there that both my kids are in middle school, and I've actually had this many conversations with them about relationships, even at this point, because like when you say the word relationship, you immediately think boyfriend, girlfriend, but it's really any kind of friendship can be a relationship, and even when they were like 5 years old, that they had to know how to relate with other kids, and both of them have had their struggles over the years with various people, because everybody's different, and you have to be able to listen and talk and communicate, and all the fundamentals of every relationship.
What do you guys say to those people that are a little bit fearful to get back out there?
That would be me.
Valid?
Sure. Well, the first thing that I always guide singles to do is to get really clear about exactly what was just said. What's the purpose of you getting back out there? What kind of relationship are you looking for? Do you want to just meet people and connect with different people, or are you really looking for a committed relationship or a long-term relationship? And what would that do for you? And, what I clarify singles to do is to get really clear on, whether they want dating to lead to marriage, or whether, because it's not assumed anymore. And just not just superficially clarify your ideals about a partner. Like, I want him to be 6 feet tall and have this kind of education, or have this personality. It's like, what am I really looking to experience? Do I want to have fun with this person? Do I want to get to know myself better? Am I really looking to exchange deep emotional intimacy? Is it more about the physical? I mean, there is no right or wrong, but the more clear you are about that, the more you're going to be able to read the guys' profiles and kind of get a sense of, okay, is this guy looking for the same thing that I am? Because you could read between the lines. And then when you're on the date, it's like you show up differently depending on what it is that you're looking for. And then you know what your boundaries are, and kind of like what you will do and won't do. And I find a lot of singles don't clarify that, and they just go out there and meet people, and then they get confused when the other person doesn't seem to want what they want.
Well, that's going to be a huge hint for me.
I gotta admit, I was very confused the other day when I met someone, and they were like, "No, this is what I want," and I was like, "Hold on, what? No, you're not communicating correctly. Not at all." Anyway,
Kim or Suzanne?
Well, as someone who's a little bit newly single, I think last time we spoke, I told you I was going through a conscious uncoupling. And at that time, I was still really deeply grieving the end of a relationship. And a lot's happened since we last visited. And I've re-entered dating myself. So now I'm in a position to not only sort of talk about it and teach about it and coach about it, but to do it. So it's a real test, right? And I didn't find that I felt any sort of negativity or fear or worry about how it would go. I just knew I wasn't ready. And you don't know when you're going to be ready until you know you're ready. And it's not like there's any best practices, like when you get to this many months or you hit this mile marker, you should be ready. Everyone's going to be on their own timeline. So if you're feeling fearful or frustrated or anticipating that only bad things are going to happen, then maybe listen to that, and you can ascertain that you're not ready. When you start to feel hopeful and excited and like you're looking forward to it and optimistic that there will be great people to meet and they'll have something to offer and you'll have something to offer them, then you're ready.
Oh, so I'm still not ready.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry.
Hi.
That's okay. It's
You're
early.
in California time. We get that.
Yeah, ha.
Not to mention it's probably pretty and nice and warm. Anyway, Kim, is there anything that you wanted to say on that question?
I just have to tell you, those girls gave some great advice to your listeners, and that's a great, I give amazing advice. The best advice I can give you is just from my own experiences is when I dated and I was in a bad negative place, my dates weren't going so well. but so then I knew I had to back off dating, kind of give myself a little dating cleanse, take a break from it for a little bit. That's okay. And then when I felt like I was at a better place in my life and more positive, and I'd be better company for somebody that's on a date, then I did much better dating. So, but the ladies get, they're relationship coaches, and they're giving some great advice.
I just want to say, I love how you said, if I'm going to be better company for someone. And I was just like, right, because dating really is just picking someone to just spend time and have a conversation with, at least at the beginning anyway. It's definitely that, and seeing if you guys work together. That's, thank you. That's very clarifying. And I love you two, the coach's advice as well.
This one is heading, actually, Rob, I'd like you to answer this one first. With the advent of normalizing more modern marital options, do you feel that they disrespect the union of marriage or females involved?
It can. I don't know. I don't think it's disrespectful. It depends on what you mean. The institution of marriage is kind of an old-fashioned thing, but it's still important for a lot of people just because we want it to be important. So you're talking about extra stuff.
Extra stuff. You're at bar, so I'm sure you end up chatting about this at some point.
Yeah. Listen, honesty and transparency are way more important than any physical stuff. So if this modern age relationships are making people more honest and more transparent with who they are and want to be, that's going to make for a stronger relationship. And you can, quote unquote, overcome things like whether it's cheating or going out with someone else, stuff like that. I mean, my wife got over that a long time ago, and no, our marriage has never been stronger. Our sex life is fantastic, and having kind of an open view of other relationships and I guess sexual stuff it's almost pointless to think about, basically. Because I'm not threatened, and my wife isn't threatened by anybody because we're so self-assured in who we are. So who cares?
Richard or John?
Good save, by the way. Good save. I saw that. Good save. Wow. Good save.
So I was just asking.
We're so ingrained as a society now that it's kind of it's taboo for us to do that. I don't know what's going to happen decades from now or not. It may change so that it is more regular. But right now, it's not something I would try. I spent 17 years trying to work on one marriage, let alone with multiple people. My head would probably explode or something like that. It's something I wouldn't even consider at this point.
So, what would you suggest for someone who is older than, like, let's say 20? That's as far as I'm willing to go.
You're older than 20? You're like 21, so you can drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 22.
22. Okay.
Somewhere
so you
in there.
graduated college?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. But would like to date younger.
Oh.
So are you talking about, can you clarify the question a little bit?
We're talking about your book, Susanna.
Yeah, there you go.
So you know what my area of research is about, but I read an article on Maxim recently that actually had some data indicating that there are health benefits for men who date younger women. So I'm very curious to know if women who date younger men also receive those same health benefits. Not that would need to be your sole motive, but hey, if that impacts our longevity, then that's just another reason to consider that.
Valerie, I would love to hear your take on that.
I mean, I haven't read the research myself, but I would imagine that if we're looking biologically, we grew up, we evolved in tribes, and we used to be surrounded by 100 people that we were close to of all ages. And I think there's benefit of being with both younger and older people in our lives always. So, I think we all crave to be around both younger and older people, to receive different and give different aspects of ourselves. But are you asking for advice to give to people that want to date younger, or
Yes,
what's the question?
Advice for people who want to date younger.
Okay. I mean, look, I don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to date younger, especially if there is, like, what I encourage people to do is just to be honest and upfront about where you're coming from. So, like, if you're in your 40s, let's say, and you want to date in your 30s and 20s, it's like when you're meeting people, and who knows what you're like, are you just looking to have fun, like I said, or are you looking for a longer term commitment with this person and knowing that it's going to be different than, let's say, the traditional relationship? But I mean, the advice that I give to everyone is really look at what exactly, like, being good company, not focusing on your own flaws, or if you have doubts going on in your head that it's possible, anything's possible, but really focus on what you're there to give to that person, what it is that you're there to provide for that person, and also like what it is that you want to receive from that person, and be upfront and be playful about it, and keep it light, and know that anything's possible.
I believe that. I have met.
When you have a relationship with somebody, you have to establish certain rules with them, and and as long as you more or less follow those rules, and there will be a certain amount of respect and belief that both of you are believe in that relationship. So, from my perspective is, as long as you all agree that this is how our relationship is going to work, then that's what's important.
Okay. Some younger people.
Kim or Yolanda? It's not about you right now. It's about the guest. Kim or Yolanda?
But yeah, I mean, obviously all good relationships are about focusing on what it is that you want to give and what it is that you want to receive, and being really clear and upfront and collaborative about that. And I think that, and it's all about having the clarity and communicating that and listening to the other person. And I think that would apply no matter what age you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So Kim or Yolanda, any comments?
Well, I gotta be honest with you. You like to date younger. I like to date a lot older. Geriatrics. No, just kidding. I go to nursing homes, hunt for dates. No, just kidding. You know what? I do have to say though, when a younger guy asks me out, I feel great. I do.
Wow.
I'm 46, so when a guy in their 20s are asking me out or thinks that I look good, or I'm strutting like, I'm the queen. I think that's great. And you know what? You got to do what makes you feel better. I personally don't like to go out with younger guys. I like to go out with older men. I just have more in common with them. But if that makes you feel comfortable and that's what you like, go for it and enjoy it.
Kim, I'm gonna say you make me feel like a ditz now. Thanks.
Why? Why?
You're like, I have more in common, and I was like, oh, right, okay, yes. So that means she's mature. Oh wait, I'm immature. Shoot.
No, I just date really immature older men. That's all. They're trying to look for their fountain of youth. Don't take that for anything that is worth. The guy I've been dating is 16 years older, and let me tell you, I have to tell you, he's more immature and has more energy than I do. So God bless.
Awesome. Dr. Arjun?
Dr. Arjun?
Uh-huh. Honestly, it's a case of reversal. You'll find that the more you age, the way it flips. And it works that way for both. When you're like both in your teens or millennials, then everybody dates around the same age. And as you begin to age, the people who are interested in you for whatever reason tend to flip. So you'll find the older you progress, the younger the people who are interested in you seem to be, and they try to find reasons to have things in common with you, and you eventually will find little things that you have in common with them. And then when you're old, and dating older people, it works the exact same way. I remember when I was in my 30s, I dated a man who was twice my age. And then by the time I was in my 40s, nobody around my own age wanted to date me. Everybody was younger that wanted to ask me out. So you'll see a shift in dynamic. It's just the level of interest.
Oh, nice. it's just nice to know that I can still get dates in my 40s if I decide to go that long trying to date and not get married. Anyway, yeah.
No one believes you, okay? No one believes you. Not even your best friend in the world believes you. No one believes you.
Anyway,
Question
moving
will
on.
not.
Yes. So there has been quite a few studies, and I think everyone's probably chatted this topic to death, but let's throw it out here and let you guys jump on it for a little while. The question is, like, since women are becoming more educated and making more money, how do you deal with an unequal money thing? And help.
Finances?
Thank you.
Jobs?
Income. Unequal income. I should have wrote that question down. I was like, no, I'm going to remember this one. How do you deal with unequal income, especially if the woman is now like the breadwinner?
Oh, girls, go ahead. Any ladies want to field this one? The only thing I could tell you is from experience, and they always tended to end poorly for me. And that in my experiences, I'm not saying that happens in everybody else's. It was always like it broke up. I mean, in a nice way. They all told me that I was a little bit much for them, or that they couldn't give me the life that I wanted, and they didn't want to hold me back. And I totally get it. I totally understand. And we didn't break up on bad terms, and it was quite a few of them. There's about 3 or 4 of them that have relationships like that. I mean, if the other relationship coaches have advice for that, boy, I'll tell you, good luck, because that was a tough one.
Yeah. Kim, quick follow-up question. Which shoe is that?
That was my broken shoe.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, the rest of you ladies jump in.
Well, I actually had an experience that kind of illustrates what you're talking about very recently. So I'm in my mid-40s and talking to and flirting with guys in their 30s, generally speaking. And one gentleman asked me out, and we had a first date, and I was very impressed that he bought my drink and got the tickets to the show. And but I did discover that he's not a drinker. I love wine. I love whiskey. I'm a little bit more of a drinker. He doesn't enjoy that. And so I felt like I want to pick up my bar tab, because if he's been very kind and generous to take care of the entertainment for the evening, I feel like if he's not a drinker, I don't want to make him pay for my, my cocktails. So for me, I just kind of went ahead and I grabbed that. That's what I wanted to do. There's a lot of, I was reading an email asking for advice the other day. There's a lot of points along the spectrum how this plays out, right? Like this one lady was saying, oh, I want this guy to take me to a 5-star restaurant. It's only $150 or $200. Well, I'm thinking, okay, that's like, this guy needs to run for the hills. If that's your idea of a first date, that he needs to spend $200 on dinner with you. It's just something to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. And I would just urge people not to make assumptions based on age, not to make assumptions based on what you think the socioeconomics of the situation are. And if all else fails, talk about it. Just bring it up. Say, hey, this is kind of awkward, but I really don't want this to get in the way because I like you. And I want to make sure we don't have something stupid get in our way. So can we talk about the money thing?
Wow, it's like, can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Right, right. Like, I know it's a novel idea. Let's talk about this stuff.
Valerie, how does this play out in marriage relationships?
Yeah, definitely. I was just listening to an interview and I forgot the guy's name, but he wrote "Smart Couples Finish Last," rich. Smart Couples Finish Rich, and it's fascinating because his book is all about, and it's the same methodology that I use, having couples connect with their values. Because money is not money, it's what is the purpose of the money? What is it that you want to use the money for? And if you're just arguing on the surface about you spend this, I spend that, I want this, that's out of your league, whatever it is, you're staying on the surface. But if you go deeper into your values, and values are what makes life meaningful to you. Like, do you want to use money to make positive experiences? Do you want to use money for family and to connect more deeply with your family? Do you want to use money for, what, like, values are things like service. Like, do you want to contribute a lot to the world, or do you want to save so that you can have free time to spend with your family? Or do you want to have positive experiences now? And so and why is that important to you? And so when couples connect on that level, then they stop fighting about the differences between I want this and you want that, and they actually start wanting to support each other with the purpose of the money. And that's what makes them want to work together. And yeah, I mean, if the woman earns more, I've seen that work in couples where the woman earns more and the guy kind of takes on a more traditional householder role where he is doing the cooking and the cleaning and providing for her in that way, and that can work. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I've also seen the opposite happen, where because the woman is making more money and the guy doesn't seem like he's pulling his own weight, then she starts to disrespect him, or, you know, he feels like he can't provide what she wants and feels inadequate. So if those issues are coming up, I think it is important to address them and talk about them, because like I said, if you go deeper, if the guy's feeling inadequate, for example, like what can he do to still provide things that make her happy? Because it doesn't have to be monetary, but you really have to have those deeper discussions to find out, are you looking to provide for her? And if so, how else can you do that? Or, you know, for her, if she is feeling like she is pulling more of the weight, you know, how can you compensate for that? And talk about that on a deeper level, because I find that a lot of couples will just push it under the carpet, or they'll argue about the money itself, but it's not about the money, it's about what the money provides.
Dr. Argent?
Twofold. I actually read an article in Yahoo that states modern couples base their relationships on credit reports. And on the coastline, at least in California, that tends to be true. It's a full-blown background check, and yeah, if you don't have proper credit, especially if you're a woman, the guys will come near you because they're not putting up with your debt, and it's not keeping them from what they want. But conversely, even in so-called progressive modern day, men still like to pull the weight, and they still like to make more than the woman. And even if she's the one who's going out being the breadwinner, he usually is the one here working from home, you know, the IT guru or whatever they call them. And he still makes more money than she does, even though he never leaves the house. And you see her going into the workplace, they still prefer to make the most money. Even though they're the ones staying home cleaning and watching the babies, and you see them out with the little strollers, they're kind of cute. They're running around doing a little jogging thing, and they've got the kids, and the wife's off at work, but they still make the most money, and they feel more like men because that to them equates as a provider, even though they still want that second income to be able to do whatever it is they want to go off and do. But a lot of people here are real big on their credit reports. You know, you got under a 650, you pretty much know you're going to either end up with a very bad relationship or you're not going to end up in one at all.
That's a very interesting concept. So the
quickly, can you give me a yes or a no?
What's the last question?
The last question is going to be, what advice would you give to any single ladies out there that are like, how do I keep a long-term relationship? Because all of you've had one.
I would advise to start with a friendship. You know, go into a relationship thinking, I want to be friends with this person, and not I want to jump the gun and be something more than that. Just establish, that I like this person, and I can connect with this person, and just go from there. Start with the basics.
Richard?
Sex is not the primary part of a long-term relationship. It is something that is a complement to it. But like John said, you have to establish a friendship first, because once you establish that friendship and that connection, and you can feel confident, then the relationship is much smoother. It's constantly a work in progress, but you can tell when the situation requires the work rather than panicking or something like that.
Robert?
Well, the last thing you want to do, especially if you're dating, is try to find the perfect guy, because people change, and for a long time in relationships, nobody is completely honest, and they can't even help themselves because people are insecure and are afraid to totally put themselves 100% out there. So if you got to be smart and play a little psychologist and see how the guy treats other people, treats people in his family, treats his work, stuff that he wouldn't just come out and say. No one's going to come out and say, actually, I'm kind of lazy, or actually, I don't really like my mom. You know, you have to kind of work to look behind the eyes and see what's actually there. And if it all checks out, yeah, be friends, be great friends, because having a good friend, that's almost as hard as having an actual relationship in marriage. That's kind of what it all comes down to in the end, I guess.
Last question, you guys, is where can everyone find you? Let's start with Kim.
I'm very easy to find. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My book is on Amazon. It's called ChoosOrLikeMen.com. It's a cute little comical book that will entertain you for a couple of hours. Grab a glass of wine, enjoy it. It's very relatable with girlfriends, and have fun reading it.
It's a hilarious book, you guys.
Thanks.
Valerie?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find too. My website is coachvaleriegreene.com. So that's CoachValerie.Greene. There's an E at the end.com. And I have a few free resources there for people. There's a free video training on my homepage for couples, and then there's a free webinar for women. So I encourage you to check it out.
It's a really good webinar.
It is. Susanna?
So my website is thedatemaven.com. Maven is spelled M-A-V for victory, E-N. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And my book, Revising Mrs. Robinson, which is an exploration of relationships between older women and younger men and the way ageism and sexism influence our views about those, is on Amazon.
It's also a very nice read.
Thank you. I like to say it's a scholarly yet sexy look.
Exactly.
Dr. Argent?
Yes, you can find me over at thewomensuccessbuilders.com. There are some things on relationships there. And you can find me on, let's see, Twitter at IV Argent, IV as in Victor, A-R-E-T. Or you can find me over on Facebook at Iolanda V. Argent, which is, my first name is I-O-L-A-N-D-E.
And she has so much that she does.
I know.
Oh my
I
word.
Googled her one day. It's crazy.
Yeah, don't Google her. It's a ton.
It's awesome. I mean, dude.
It's ages.
But you guys, we are your ladies. And
Okay.
All right.
You want first of all, can we, for the writers here, the ones who have books out, you guys want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Really? Was that shade thrown? That's ridiculous. But anyway, yes, where can people find you?
Did I throw shade? I don't think.
You've been throwing shade. Oh my goodness, you've been throwing shade the whole time.
Never mind. Go ahead, Jay.
So yeah, where can people find you guys?
You can find me on johnhopewriting.com. All my books and awards are listed there.
Awesome. You guys check that out.
All right. Find me on woodenpantspub.com. That is the site for the publishing and the podcasting. You can find me on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Google Play, TuneIn, and iTunes, on The Daily Author, The Unfrustrated Entrepreneur, and soon the Wandering Creative Podcasts. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me at woodenpantspub.com. You can also personal message me on Facebook at woodenpantspub or Richard Keller.
That is so awesome. You guys check them out. And
well,
Rob,
wait, I feel bad because Rob didn't.
Rob, anything?
You can find me spinning yarns and rocking touring across the many bars of this great state of Maryland.
You can also find him on Just Writing Life at
Yes, you can. You can find him in Just Writing Life.
Episode 3. There.
No internet.
I'm gonna totally wrap it up.
Thank you guys, all of our guests, for joining us on the Relationship Roundtable. I'm Jade.
And I'm Winona.
And we are from the And I Thought. You should check out our book, our television show, everything on Amazon. andwethought.com. Our book's on Amazon.com. And you guys, just remember that wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it.
Yes. So, yes. So, peace and love.
You guys, from Winona with the 2 broken nails.
And Jade. Bye-bye.